Hello and welcome to CIPD Bitesize. In this video, we're going to be looking at 5HR01 AC2.1, which is distinguish between organisational conflict and misbehaviour. Now, as always within these, the first thing that we always do is we break the question down into its component parts. And within 5HR01, they use a lot of different verbs. The main challenge of this unit is the different verbs that they use. So in this one, you've been given the word distinguished. We will break down there exactly what's expected of you within the verb level so that there's no getting away from what's thing. But first and foremost, let's break down the question. So distinguish between organisational conflict and misbehaviour. So there's really three things that you need to do in this particular question, and we're going to break those down into action points for you just so that you know exactly what's expected of you. But we're looking to distinguish between organisational conflict and misbehaviour. I think this is the first time distinguish has come up as a CIPD verb, but anyway. Distinguish, to notice or understand the difference between two things or to make one person or thing seem different from another. So again, they're using this verb distinguish, and straight away the main thing that you need to think is it's a multiple. It's not, you're not just going this is this is that, right? I've distinguished is a multiple action, so you notice the difference between two things, and you do multiple. So the first thing that I would do is I would define organizational conflict. The second thing I would do is I would define misbehavior, and then I'll explain how each of them are different. And I would give one example, and then I would explain how they're different, and I will give a second example. Remember, you need a reference and a citation per action point. And first and foremost, let's lay out this assessment for you so that you know how you're going to approach it. So on this side of the screen, on the top of your page, it says AC 2.1. That's what CIPD want to see. They want to see the title of AC 2.1. And then you put in your subheading, defining organizational conflict. Then you put defining misbehavior, difference example 1, difference example 2. And that way you've distinguished the difference between them, you have clarified them, you have made it absolutely abundantly clear that you understand the definition of each of them and that you understand the differences that they have. This is one of the things that CIPD sometimes does, is they throw questions and they throw verbs that don't come up regularly. There's a lot of explain, there's a lot of compare, there's a lot of assess. Distinguish is one of those where they're looking for you to do something very specific. So make sure that you don't get caught out on the verb level of this. CIPD are very good in terms of changing some of the verbs to sort of change the tone of the question and the expectation of you. So make sure that you address it in those ways and make sure that you build it out. Now, with all units of 5HR01, I give you a word limit of 390 words. There are 10 questions in 5HR01 and a total word count of 3,900. So you have a 100 words per action point. 100 words to define organizational conflict, 100 words to define misbehavior, 100 words to explain how it's different on one level, 100 words to explain how it's different on another level. So again, you're building your answer, you're showing the marker, I understand this question, I've broken it down into its component parts, you can give me nothing but a pass. I have cruised through this, I've given you everything that you want, this is how it's going to be. And aim for a reference and citation per action point. So you've got 4 action points there. You need references and citations for each of them. And when you're distinguishing, evidence is key. So if you've got legal references that you can cite, if there's actual things that you can look at and you can sort of reference to it, make sure that you use those. So again, we've got some resources that we recommend you read that I'll put on the next slide here, but always make sure that you've got evidence and it's not just my opinion. Distinguish is evidence-based, proof, irrefutable, and there's an evidence and a reference and a citation for each of them. Now, in terms of reading resources, I recommend the following. CIPD's Managing Conflict in the Modern Workplace 2020. I normally recommend source material that is less than 2 years old, but this is one of those instances where CIPD haven't really done any further research on managing conflict in the workplace since this. So it's not massively out, well, it's slightly out of date, but it's not massively out of date, and there's nothing really new to sort of take over. So I would definitely use this. And CIPD, obviously, they're marking CIPD work. CIPD want to see you cite CIPD. That's the nature of it. So the next two are CIPD fact sheets, which is mediation at work, and CIPD fact sheet and disciplinary and grievance at work. This will give you a really good idea between organizational conflict and misbehavior, because you've got mediation, you've got disciplinaries, you've got grievances. There's a whole range of information and sub-reading and podcasts and other things that you can dig into on this. And these are probably the three that I would recommend you really start with to sort of just understand the differences between organizational conflict and misbehavior. So again, we'll link them in a VLE, we'll link them on the community, if depending on how you're engaging with the content, just to make sure that you can sort of follow them through. And if you do have any questions, obviously you can reach out to us and we can cover that. And as always, one of the things that we do is we give you a bit of an analogy, we give you an example so that you can try and understand the elements of this question a little bit better. And for this, we have an angry chef. So imagine you work in a professional kitchen. You're not a HR professional anymore, you're a chef. Or a kitchen manager, or basically you work in hospitality. Organizational conflict is like two chefs disagreeing on a recipe. One prefers a spicy dish while the other wants to make it milder. They can debate on the merits of each approach, try variations, and ultimately find a compromise that creates a delicious meal, a successful project. Misbehavior is more like a chef throwing a tantrum because they didn't get their preferred ingredients. They might yell at colleagues, sabotage a dish with weird substitutions, like by doing unrelated tasks. Or they might simply walk out, quitting abruptly. It disrupts the entire cooking line process and ruins the entire meal and service for that entire evening. That's kind of the difference between organizational conflict and misbehavior. A lot of people will say conflict is bad, but in many organizations and instances, conflict can be a really positive trait. It can be something that really helps people work out what the best solution is. Because if you're not able to air what you're worried about, what you're not happy about, what you want to improve, and someone else isn't able to do the same, then no middle ground can be found. And if no middle ground can be found, then you're stuck and you're in constant conflict. Conflict is by nature a way to solve problems. So I would always say conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is only bad if it starts to get personal and not about the potential problem that you're trying to solve. So as you can see in this example, when we talk about the two chefs, one wanting a milder dish, one wanting a spicier dish, they've ended up working together to create something that is a hybrid between both of them. They've found the middle ground, but they've done it via positive conflict. So understanding the difference between organizational conflict and misbehavior is really important when you're trying to think about the outcome. Misbehavior is a lot of the time just one person doing something that creates issue, and that's the thing that you need to make yourself aware of. Absolutely best of luck in this unit. I'm sure you'll absolutely cruise through it. Any questions, obviously, you can reach out to us, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.